The Raiders and Broncos game had everything. Dilly-dilly, a huge fight. Interception number 1 of the season for the Raiders and a silver and black 21-14 win over Denver. Hello and welcome to this Vegas Nation recap. I'm Brian Salmon. Well, 1A, the Raiders at 5-6 pulls in within one game of AFC West leading Kansas City, the Chiefs. 1B, the fireworks between Michael Crabtree and Aqib Talib. Talib snatches Crabtree's gold chain again, to which Crabtree responds by blocking Talib from the field to the sideline and into an innocent bystander. From there, punches were thrown, but punches were not connecting. And in the end, Crabtree, Talib, and Raiders O-lineman Gabe Jackson were ejected and led to the pit of misery. And finally, 1C, Navarro Bowman completes the most routine of interceptions, ending the drought, giving the Silver and Black a grand total of 1 interception for the season. So, for more on the Raiders win, let's head to Oakland with Raiders beat writer Michael Gelkin and columnist Ed Graney.
Yeah, Brian, huge win here for the Raiders. Michael, before we get to the significance of what this means, the Raiders winning today in the AFC West division race and all that, let's go early on. Huge national story actually came out of this game when Aqib Talib of the Broncos and Michael Crabtree of the Raiders got into it. There's some history here. Take us through what happened and what the ejections meant.
Sure. Well, to start that history, January 1st this year, the end of the 2016 regular season, saw Aqib Talib, Broncos cornerback, snatch Michael Crabtree's chain during the middle of a game between plays, extremely blatant. This was a follow-through where here on Sunday, you had Aqib Talib very early in the game again rip the chain off of Crabtree's neck. You had the two throw punches at each other. It was a bit of a melee where other players were getting involved in it. Gabe Jackson in the process, the right guard, made contact with an official. So you had 3 ejections, Talib, Crabtree, and Jackson for the Raiders. Just like that, you're without one of your top receivers and one of your best offensive linemen.
Yeah, and to make matters worse for the Raiders later on, their next best receiver, Amari Cooper, takes a violent hit in the second quarter. It was actually just to come out of it with a concussion on that hit might be on the positive side of things. You never want a concussion, but when we saw him on the ground, Michael, it looked like it could have been much worse. So they lose also Amari Cooper.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you have an offense that was shorthanded, not just on the offensive line with Jackson being down. At one point, Donald Penn, left tackle, exited the game, but only 3 wide receivers for the brunt of this one. And in part because the offense responded, but really this defense as well. Maybe it was Paxton Lynch. Let's not totally lose sight of who was at quarterback for Denver. But, hey, look at what the Raiders did defensively. 6 3-and-outs on the Broncos' first 10 drives. That's huge. 5 sacks is a season high. And by the way, their very first interception of the season, second quarter, Navarro Bowman came on a deflection. He was actually lying on his back when he just caught it instinctively, and that's how the Raiders got their very first pick of the year, the longest drought to open a season in terms of 10 games without a pick in NFL history. So,
yeah, in the end zone as well. They break up what would have been a touchdown and get their first pick, leave it to the Raiders to have a guy on his back to get the pick. Right. All right, let's get to this win. They are now 5-6 overall, tied with the Chargers for second place, 1 game behind the Chiefs. Literally, the Chiefs, Raiders, and Chargers all play each other. They all control their own destinies. Derek Carr said afterwards, this was a must-win. They had to win this game. Now they control their destiny. They get the Giants here next week, winnable game. Where do you see this team now as compared to what we left in Mexico City that got blown out by the Raiders?
And the urgency's on. You look at the Chargers and just the situation in the AFC West, there's a real muddle there in that division, and only one team's going to make it out probably and go to the playoffs. And so the Raiders, you look at the Chargers' schedule being so easy down the stretch, relatively easy. That game on New Year's Eve in LA needs to matter. And so, but for it to matter, if presuming the LA team takes care of business, the Raiders need to continue to win and handle their own. So that is their attitude. That is their focus. We'll see how they execute.
So there you have it here in Oakland. Crazy stuff. We had ejections. We had violent hits. At the end of the day, though, the Raiders have a victory they desperately needed. 21-14 over the Broncos. Look for all our coverage at Vegas Nation and also ReviewJournal.com. Heidi, myself, Ed, Michael, we'll all bring it to you. Back to you guys.
All right, thank you very much, guys. In the studio once again, no mama's curtains behind him. We have Humberto Manzano, El Sharpo in the building. How you doing, my man?
Doing well. Back from Mexico and my mom's house, so I'm good to be here in the studio with you.
All right, so we have some things to talk about. First things first, John Pagano, the defensive coordinator for the Raiders, going up against offensive coordinator Bill Musgrave. I guess we can check one in the box for Pagano because the Raiders defense showed up finally.
Yeah, and they finally got an interception.
Yo!
So now they have 1 on the season. So for Pagano to get that for the Raiders defense, that's a big plus. And I know it sounds kind of sad to say 1 interception, but for this Raiders team, they'll take anything. And they almost had a shutout. They had Paxton Lynch, struggling for most of the day. But then Seaman came in and had a couple touchdowns, but it seemed like the game was never, out of hand for the Raiders defense. I know our Bowman had a good game. Khalil Mack had a big game. So I think Pagano did his job and got this team ready to play for a game that they needed to win.
They definitely needed to win. They get an interception. Mack had a sack. I mean, they're doing some things out there. Someone doing some things. 2 Chainz. Talib.
Yeah, I like what you did there.
Oh, yeah, I like what I did there, too. Anyway, yeah, Talib snatches Michael Crabtree's train for the second time. A fight ensues. The weird thing to me, Crabtree gets ejected just like Marshawn Lynch. Crabtree was up in the press box, comfort, just relaxing, watching the game.
Yeah, I guess that's a rare thing to do. Get kicked out from the game, go up, get some popcorn, and watch your teammates from the press box.
Man, but how about that fight? I mean, that was pretty odd that they would go at it, and one guy has his helmet on, one guy does not. I mean, that was actually a real fight.
Yeah, I guess it was probably something Crabtree has probably wanted to do to leave since the chain snatching the first time. For somebody that kind of hurts your pride a little bit.
Yes.
But he chose the wrong time. It was first quarter. You don't want to leave your team stranded like that. But I think it was just something where it was just a block, and he was like, I had him right here. I'm pushing him to the side. And then it bowled over, and then somehow Talib got the chain again. I don't know how he does it. He has like a knack for that. But it didn't affect the Raiders today. They lost Cooper also in the I think it was the second quarter. Maybe it was a concussion.
Yeah.
But Cordarrelle Patterson stepped up. So Patterson came in to help out Derek Carr, and it wasn't a bad fight for Crabtree. Maybe it was worth it to shove Talib a little bit.
Yeah, it kind of inspired the team to do well, for Carr to find some other guys to contribute. Lynch contributed pretty well running the ball and receiving as a combination today. And lastly, I can't believe I'm saying this. The Raiders are 5-6. They're 1 game out of the AFC West.
And the wild card spots, they have 2 options. Maybe the AFC West is a little easier because they already beat the Chiefs. So
yes.
That's a tiebreaker there. But it's hard to kind of get on the bandwagon because they're probably going to get 6-6 next week against the Giants.
You would think so.
But then you got to play the Chiefs and Kansas City. You got to play Philly. You got to play the Chargers. We already lost to the Chargers, who are kind of hot. And then you probably have to play the Cowboys with Ezekiel Elliott back. So they might go 2-2 there. So 8-8, is that good enough to get into the playoffs? But at least there's hope right now. We're talking about playoffs, but don't get too excited, Raider Nation.
All right, Raider Nation, don't get too excited, except if you're congratulating Gilberto Monsanto, NFL writer for Review Journal, for dropping some knowledge for us today. Appreciate it, my man.
No problem, Brian.
All right, so up next for the Silver and Black, they have the New York Giants at home, a very, very winnable game. So for Gilbert, Michael, and Ed Graney, I'm Brian Salmon. Thank you for joining us for Vegas Nation. See you next time.